Become a sponsor today by visiting patreon.com/psychologyis.
You bring up attachment styles. This is, of course, a fairly well-known concept in psychology about attachment theory and secure versus insecure attachments, and how the attachment style that we have is typically established very early in life by the relationship we have with our immediate caregivers, but that it's not a completely fixed dynamic either, that our attachment styles can change. But there was a few things that I found really interesting that you said about that. One of which was a quote I wrote down regarding, so this is all kind of related to trust, because your attachment style fundamentally has to do with your default trust setting in relationships. And you wrote that you can change your brain from one that sees relationships as a source of danger and pain to one that sees relationships as a source of safety and connection, which might be the fundamental difference between a secure and insecure attachment. And then well, maybe I'll let you describe in this moment, how would a person behave differently and feel differently in relationships as an adult if they have a secure attachment style versus one of the insecure attachment styles, such as anxious or avoidant or disorganized?
Yeah. So I think in some ways, and I'm saying this out loud, but in some ways it goes back to kind of the locus of control, right? People that have that grew up with a secure attachment figure, what they get that people who grew up in insecurely attached homes don't get is the emphasis on internal locus of control, right? I'm here, but I'm here to support you. You go do the thing. I'll be right here if you fall, right? Whereas in the insecure, they didn't get the external safety, so they couldn't develop the internal safety, right? The external control, like it was simply about trying to relate to the primary caregiver, right? So everything was focused outwardly. How do I get mom to pay attention? Mom's not here. How do I take care of myself? So it's very much in that context. And so I think that's really what the difference is. Again, going into a secure person in a relationship can see what's their part and what's the other person's part. Sometimes people with insecure attachment orientation it all kind of gets twisted. And that's what makes things kind of messy, right? I can't feel okay unless you're okay, which means I need to make you okay so I can be okay. And it's like, hold on, right? And so I think that's really what I see as maybe the defining difference.
Right. The locus of control. You talk about independence, codependence, and interdependence in relationships. And something you said about this I thought was extremely interesting, but you described independence as someone who's typically less trusting. The narrative for them is, I trust me, not you. So I'm independent. But what you said that I thought was so interesting and true is that often these people secretly don't trust themselves to make good decisions about others. And I just, that really hit me and made me stop and think. And I think that's absolutely right. That underneath this narrative that I can't trust you, it's actually, I can't trust me to make an accurate assessment of whether I can really trust you.
Yeah.
So my default setting is I reject everybody.
Yeah.
And I think for many people that would kind of hit them like a ton of bricks, the thought that, wow, actually, maybe it's my own judgment that I don't trust.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I loved, kind of taking it to that next level because, again, there's a lot out there about attachment styles and there's some great information, but often I saw that it kind of stopped with, um, you know, again, like, and of course I haven't looked at everything, but for me in working with people in the room, especially with the avoidant type, which I love working with people who present with avoidant attachment, which is maybe why I was able to kind of get down there because it's
Mm.
like it seems like you're suspicious of everybody else, but let's look at your radar.
Right.
You know, like your own ability to trust yourself. You
Mm.
know, um, and yeah, so I love attachment work. And I
Yeah.
also think that it's so important to emphasize that it's not a diagnosis, it's a default setting,
Right.
right? Based on your primary attachment figure as a child, as an infant, the home you grew up in. And as an adult, you can make different choices and you can become earned secure, right? Um, and I love that, you know,
Yeah,
'cause it's not.
it's kind of the fixed mindset can get applied to this, and I think often does. But
Mhm,
the idea that, you're not necessarily fixed in your attachment style is important. You also, offered what I considered to be kind of a fresh, original, and unique and valuable take on codependence, which is when people are overly trusting and are kind of constantly needing the other person to reassure them. And so, so the codependent relationship is two people who are always depending on the other person to meet their needs, but in an almost compensatory way where
mhm,
they're having to not just meet my needs, but like give you this feeling that your needs will always be met. And yeah, you say that that often these people who are codependent secretly don't trust that people want to meet their needs,
mhm,
and that I feel like it also hits the nail on the head, because that's exactly what is being compensated for. This lack
mhm.
of trust that you actually want to meet my needs. So not only do I need you to meet my needs, but I need you to constantly prove to me that you want to meet my needs and will do so on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. And the anxiety of how can I make it easy for you to meet my needs,
Mm.
but then I never give you the opportunity to prove to me that you want to, even if it would be difficult. I make it so easy for you by overcompensating with everything and trying
Right.
to be so attuned, but in a way that's very kind of fear based,
Right.
right? Anxious feeling of like, am I making it easy enough for you to love me? Because I know I'm a lot, right?
Mhm.
And I don't think that you would choose to do it if I didn't try really hard to make it very easy for you to love me. Oh
Mhm.
my God, are we okay? You
Right.
know? Um, yeah. And so it's exhausting on both sides,
Right.
right? So,
Yeah. And then the healthy version is this interdependence, which is I trust myself to a healthy degree. I trust you to a healthy degree. And it's, I take it that this is associated with a more secure attachment style. It's the
mhm.
healthy balance that we're all looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's again I can tell you how to love me because I know how to love me. Right? I know what I need to feel loved and cared for and protected and honored. And I can tell you that and you can learn, right?
Mm,
And I trust that you want to. I
mm,
trust my radar that I've chosen a good person to be with. And yeah, you're not going to get it perfect because you're learning to love me, and I'm okay with that.
right.